Blackballed. 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 Blackballed.
What is up, everybody? My name is James D. Fury, and this is Blackballed. Tonight, our guest. I've been watching him lately deal with sort of reaction to some people who support sort of that outspoken fringe element in politics that we're seeing these days. And one of the things that I like about our guest tonight is that he is a person who is tough to nail down ideologically. And this is going to sound hilarious in a lot of ways, but I sort of see him as a person who is able to maintain objectivity as a journalist, which is something that used to be a given in journalism. But since the days of social media began, it seems more and more that journalists are parking their pen in one camp or the other. My next guest, I believe, does not fall into that trap, and his name is Stephen Maher. Stephen, how are you, buddy?
Good, and yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining me. I know it's a little bit hectic for you today, but I appreciate it. Where are you right now? You're on a beach somewhere?
So I'm just happy to be alive and be here listening to the sea. So
Yes. Okay. Well, serenity now, I guess. I saw you today kind of dealing with a bunch of stuff. And what I wanted to sort of get to first was we've had a situation in this country for a while now. It has kind of, I think, spiraled a little bit out of control. The easy way to talk about it is to say that our discourse is suffering. But there's a couple of extra nuances and caveats inside that. I'm going to play a little clip here, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about what we just saw and what you tweeted today that I think was actually not said enough and something that I found really refreshing. So first, we're going to go to this clip.
Fuck you! You fucking scum! You blade! How deep is that in my fucking back? We fucking bleed for you. We fucking bury these guys for you. And this is what you fucking do. This is how you treat. I'm you. I'm your fucking brother. Fuck you. Who the fuck do you think you are? Gun or rope? Mike.
Okay. That was Jeremy McKenzie. And one of the things that I think that should be pointed out is that he is a veteran. Who knows what he's gone through, but something that you tweeted today I thought was really powerful, which is as I have been researching Diagolon, and I believe Jeremy McKenzie, who was the person that we just saw in that clip, is a co-founder. I think you might want to correct me on that if I'm wrong. But anyways, you said, as I have been researching Diagolon, I keep on thinking of a line from James Baldwin. I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense that once hate is gone, they'll be forced to deal with pain. How much of this is a mental health issue versus a political issue?
Well, I've never met him. I know that he served in Afghanistan in 2007, although I haven't been able to confirm that. That he has been an advocate for soldiers' Sliquin poisoning, which is an anti-malaria drug, which I actually took at one point in my life from it. But so, you know, it would be about Jeremy McKenzie as if I know him. But you look at that but I see a person who's suffering, who's issues. There are contradictory views, PTSD. And on a human level, you can say, well, here's somebody who's dealing with struggles in their other level. He's threatening people often. He's saying that Jagmeet Singh belongs in the electric chair. He's saying, ex-journalist, that he's going to go visit him at his house. He's saying things about news, a person who has been a focus for a lot of hatred from these people, that you wouldn't expect to get away with saying them in front of him, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
This can be true. He is a person who seems to be suffering, and none of this is acceptable. And it's our issue to deal with somebody like that.
No, I agree. What is the okay? So we're not going to diagnose. I'm not going to be an armchair psychiatrist or psychotherapist or anything. It does seem like he has some problems. I don't want to attack a man if he does have problems, but there's also something to be said for bad behavior. The whole thing about Diagolon and Jeremy McKenzie and other people that are within that group, about when they get caught doing something or saying something nefarious, we're just kidding. That is an old trick, isn't it?
Yeah, I shared a quote today from Jean-Paul Sartre. He wrote this right after the war. He was a French philosopher who was in Paris during the night, and he wrote an important essay about anti-Semitism for the war. And he identified a sort of clownish Semites, in that they clowning and joking around, which works for them because is that serious discourse, trying to debate, is not their point. They have the liberty to be what they're really trying to do is not to convince you with argument, but to frighten people, demonstrate, to make people fearful. He observed that in the late, believe that we still see the same pattern today, and it's something that people should be aware of. I see some people saying, "Oh, the media got clowned by this guy. Ho ho ho! This is a joke. The media are falling for it. Ha ha ha!" No, should think a little more carefully. Right? This is. I don't find it funny at all. Anti-Semitism, hate. I'm very. I like to have a few jokes. I become very dour person when we start talking about Holocaust denial. I lose my sense of humor entirely. Right?
Yeah, and I don't blame you. And it's something that eventually people are going to have to sort of answer for. All the stuff that's happening today reminded me of a piece that you wrote in the Walrus, I think back in May. It says why is politics getting nastier with threats and harassment rising? Running for office has become a dangerous job. Also, I guess being in office, you could add to that. I'm just thinking of the Chrystia Freeland situation. But what you wrote is, over the last several years, the business of politics in Canada has become uglier. In 2020, Vice News spoke to numerous lawmakers and staffers who complained about the frequency of security incidents, such as physical assaults and death threats. The vitriol seemed to surge during last year's federal election when representatives from all levels of government and from across party lines reported threats and attacks. Some party operatives, according to CBC News, called it the nastiest campaign they've ever experienced, and the RCMP noted an increase in the need for additional security. Volunteers and candidates were assaulted. In one incident, police charged a 56-year-old woman for pinning a Liberal incumbent against the wall with a table. Trudeau, who opted to wear a bulletproof vest at a 2019 rally due to RCMP concerns for his safety, wasn't spared. A People's Party of Canada staffer is awaiting trial for allegedly throwing gravel at him during a London campaign rally. And last year, a gun-toting military reservist from Manitoba was sentenced to 6 years in prison after he rammed the gates near the Prime Minister's residence with his truck in 2020. In a lot of these examples that I've heard you talk about, and in that piece you mentioned Michelle Rempel and Catherine McKenna, and the type of abuse that they experience. How much does hypocrisy among voters and among citizens like myself and others who may have decided that if it happens to the person they hate, they're all for it, but if it happens to someone they support, they're dead against it. How much of that kind of like general citizen hypocrisy is kind of the problem here?
Yeah, no, you're right. And there's sort of two things that overlap here. I think one is that when prime ministers are in office, we saw this with Mulroney, with Harper, with Pierre Trudeau, buildup of animus against them. It's just people are tired of them and they're tired of whatever. And that's a permanent kind of thing. Cyclical. These moments arise when there's a lot of anger against the incumbent. There's a second thing, though, that's happening overlaid on top of that, I think, which is people out there who feel express their fury in a way that was not true in the past. And the reason is because people in all parties are getting it. Michelle Rempel can't announce her campaign events ahead of time. Charlie Angus of the NDP has had to get a peace bond against some lunatic. And yesterday we saw Chrystia Freeland and her staff cursed at and by this enormous man, right? Like it's piling up. United States legislators in the United Kingdom have been killed. If we keep going this way, there will be a time not that far off when we'll be saying, well, this politician was killed. That's what we're headed to.
Yeah, I mean, and was it during the committee hearings, Wilson Raybould, when the Privy Council came out and said, we're eventually going to see a dead body on the streets because of our dead politician, or he's worried about an assassination attempt for some politician. I'm starting to worry about that too, because, when you see Chrystia Freeland, to me, that was a little scary. She was surrounded by female staffers. None of them look like security to me. And this guy is like pretty menacing looking, and he's walking towards her, calling her a fucking bitch and that he's get the fuck out of his province.
I believe he used
and walking
the C word as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's walking towards her, towards an elevator. Like that could have went sideways in no time flat. And then you see people respond to that by saying, first of all, there's a lot of people saying like the bitch deserved it. I couldn't believe some of the tweets that I saw after that came out. But then the people that are like, just deflect to something that might have happened to their politician. And it's like, there's never a starting point of conversations anymore, I think is really what I'm trying to say. We never have a place where we can just both like, and I hate to use the word both sides because I think we're a lot more nuanced than just a polarized electorate, but for the sake of this conversation, where both sides can't just sit down and just agree on a starting point even. Like we don't agree with the facts on the ground anymore. We're living in a post-truth era. I don't know what...
I thought Andrew... Yeah.
Go ahead.
I thought Andrew Coyne made a good point the other day, maybe today on Twitter, saying it doesn't matter who says anything about anything. The immediate response is the Liberals for giving a anti-racism grant to a race. The Liberals said, well, what about Pierre Poilievre? If you criticize Pierre Poilievre for not... Well, what about the racists? It's sort of exhausting, right? So people are in their tribal partisan camps that whatever happens, it's a threat to their identity. If you are saying something about their, they say, well, that's terrible. What about the other person, right? That seems to be getting stronger and stronger, but it's also probably the social media bubble that we live in. Right? People aren't like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think there is a cure for this kind of shit, or do you think this is just going to be here with us forever? Because I honestly, I used to think little bit more positively. And now I think being pragmatic means knowing that it's not going to get better.
I don't know. I think I am in favor of algorithmic transparency. Make YouTube and show us how they're sending people, right? There's very, very good research that shows, you take a normal computer and within 2 weeks, or YouTube or Facebook is giving him, Holocaust denial crap, right? Because it keeps him in his chair. So is enough scrutiny on that stuff, but that's very difficult to manage. It's difficult for other countries to do it if the Americans aren't. The answer is we gotta have people like Chrystia Freeland when they go around, but I know from talking to them, whenever there's an election, politicians can have security, but when there's an election and they're knocking on doors all the time, every time they knock on a door, they become fearful. I talk to politicians, they dread that part of the job, a part of the job that they used to enjoy.
Yeah, and it feels like I don't know how many of them would make the trade. Okay, you'll get no more threats, but you'll have no social media. I don't know if they would make that trade.
Yeah, it's impossible. Kenna told me that at one point. She was dealing with terrible threats and went to the mountain officials, and somebody said, well, you are just going to have to stay off social media. It's like, I'm the Minister of Environment, right? I can't, right? That's my job. So I do believe police can do when people are getting threatened. I don't think police have caught up and they're not coordinating as well as they. But even if they get smarter and do more, it's a tough old world. The rise of conspiracy theories, the pandemic, everyone 2 years sitting around at home, isolated, watching poison on their computers. I'd like to think it's going to get better, but you tell me, man. Do you see it getting better?
No, I think it's going to get worse, and I think violence is going to inevitably show us what the fruits of our labors have been. I'm going to let you go because I know that you have family waiting. I just wanted to ask you one last thing about whether or not you think that social media needs to be such an integral part of a minister's daily routine. Why is that something that is necessary for them to be able to operate when it wasn't just 10 years ago?
Well, they've got to be able to try to sell or not. It's not like the old days where everyone's sitting around watching Lloyd Robertson and waiting for the right. So you got to go. There's an old saying: you got to fish where the fish are at, right?
Yeah.
And so, if you're a minister, you got to be out your nonsense, right? Like I'm defending it. I find kind of dumb and beside the point, but whatever. That's what they're doing. That's what they're and say whatever the government. The message the government is trying to get across, and we have humanity, right? Like people think of politicians. This is something I've been covering politics for a long time or other. You realize, well, these are just people, right? They and people encounter at the Tim Hortons or Buddy at the gas station. They deserve to be treated with respect. You should not treat a politician with less respect than you would treat the lady at the Tim Hortons counter. Or true. More, for that matter, in my opinion.
I'm an atheist who believes in the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's pretty much it. Stephen Maher, thank you very much. I'll let you get back to your family. I really appreciate you taking the time, and
my
we'll
pleasure.
talk again soon. Thanks, brother. Have a good one. Sorry about the sound, guys. I know it's a little bit choppy. But yeah, Stephen Maher, he's such a good journalist. You should check him out. He's a managing, not the managing editor, but a contributing editor to Macleans. Like I said before he came on, he's one of those guys that, still believes in like old school journalism where, if something happens in the conservative realm, he'll come at it objectively. Something happens in the progressive realm, he'll come at it objectively. And unfortunately, that makes him kind of a rare bird these days. And, I can't tell you how disappointed I am in that. But, nevertheless, he's able to give us a good glimpse. And the reason why I trust him, by the way, when it comes to like the Diagolon stuff and the right-wing extremism stuff, is because I know he doesn't come at it as like, as some pearl clutcher who just wants to like stick it to the right wing. He comes at it like an objective journalist, and it's like, no, these people are anti-Semites. Jeremy McKenzie may have, mental problems that may be well and good, but at the very least, a symptom of his mental problems appears to be death threats and anti-Semitism. So make that, make of that what you will. This is going to be a quick episode today on Blackballed. There was a couple other things that I wanted to talk about, but just want to touch on it for a moment. I'm sorry to break the news to a lot of you, but Lisa LaFlamme's disappearance from television did absolutely nothing to harm journalism. I'm sorry. She's not a journalist anymore. She's a bingo caller. And I don't mean that disparagingly. I just think it's an archaic system, the way that we have anchor people, the way they deliver the news in their strong voice. It doesn't matter. Cable television is basically a relic from the past now. Most of us get our news online. I don't know why she was fired. I have no idea if it was because of gray hair. I have no idea if it was because she was a woman. I tend to think that in today's social virtue, our virtue signaling world that we live in, that no company is really going to fire someone for being a woman or for having gray hair. I honestly think that Bell Canada, who has a track record of firing people to save money, fired someone to save money. Even if it's just a drop in the bucket. That's the way I feel. And I happen to know that she was in some hot water over the Patrick Brown reporting stuff. There was a recording. I have heard a portion of this recording 4 years ago, and it shows Lisa LaFlamme, I'll say it allegedly because I don't want anyone to sue me, but she did sound a lot like she was coaching one of the girls who was like, I wasn't underage. She's like, but you were in high school, right? You were in high school. It was something like that. And she was like, no, I don't even know why I'm here. So it was a bad look. And I think that situation and the other reporting, the Patrick Brown situation, was part of the overall lawsuit that Patrick Brown won against CTV. So I think there might have been already some sort of like mark on her by the time she did get let go. But trust me, guys, no one woke up the day after she got fired and felt a depletion of journalistic integrity or information. It just wasn't happening. It is not something that she is not someone who is indicative of unearthing journalism. That's not what she does. Other people do the journalism. She gets the cue cards and she talks about the journalism that other people do. Sometimes she'll interview somebody, but let's be frank. We live in an age of long form content, and these little 4-minute interviews aren't doing anyone any good. They're for sound bites so that they can put something online that will get a lot of clicks so that ad revenue will increase. Her job was to make ad revenue. Her job was not to really like do any type of journalism whatsoever. And the same with Peter Mansbridge. So I don't want anyone to think that I'm just like picking on a woman. Nothing happened to journalism since these people left, except the missed opportunity to take like 2/3 of their salaries and put it towards investigative reporting inside CTV so that journalism could actually improve. But they're not going to do that either. So that's that. You can send me your hate mail if you want. Tomorrow, I am going to be having Maxime Bernier on the show. Maxime and I are podcast buds, I guess you could say. I think it's like the 5th time I'm interviewing him. But one of the things I want to ask him about tomorrow is like he's retweeting conspiracy theories now. A man by the name of Tom Quiggin tweeted something. I'm sorry, I don't have it, but he tweeted something that talks about how the federal government is going to stage protests that will result in people dying in order to like crush our liberties again. And, I know that retweets aren't an endorsement, but he did, retweet it, and Andrew Coyne called him out for it. And, it's going to be a friendly conversation because I don't hate Max. I don't really look at an interview with Max Bernier as something that I have to start attacking him, but I am going to ask him questions. They're going to be tough questions as far as I'm concerned, but they're not going to be asked in a way where I'm all serious, looking for the serious tone and all that. I'm not going to do that. So hopefully you guys will like that. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate mail before and after that. And then on Friday, I have music publicist Eric Alper. He's awesome. If you go to his Twitter feed, you'll see he's one of those guys that he's always in the pulp culture thing. But what he does is he'll tweet things that will make you remember things that will make you feel nostalgic. So that's going to be fun. And next week we're going back to the cult. We're gonna have a whole bunch of ex-members again. And look, that is going to be my beat moving forward for a long time. I'm not going to stop with that. And to let all my rapper audience members know and my journalist audience members know, it's all, for a good cause. It's to try to bring down a horrible, evil cult and their present day Jesus. So I don't know how anyone could fault me for doing that. Now, tomorrow I start at 7:00. That interview will be 45 minutes. And once again, that will be Maxime Bernier. And until then, thank you all. And thank you all in the comments. I love you. You know who you are. But thank you again for watching Blackballed, and we'll see you next time.
Blackballed. 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 Black.